Hi, good morning, everybody. It is 10:17 here in Bozeman, early morning going on for me. So I'm a little bit still kind of in my pajamas and everything, but I thought this would be a good starter video to do. I wanted to bring in my kind of experience of going through a yoga teacher training and what um, it brings up for me personally, because as a part of my holistic life coaching business, I really want to kind of be able to show people that even though I'm working with you and I am working to coach you as well, that I also still have my own growth experiences and everything that I'm going through, because I constantly want to be learning. And I think it's one of the greatest things in life is knowledge and getting to grow and learn with each other. And I hope I get to learn from you guys as much as you get to learn from me. And I feel like the biggest part about learning from each other is being vulnerable and kind of a open space for others to be able to see what you're going through. So I like to kind of really show that I'm not perfect either. I have my own human tendencies that come up, and something I really want to implement is to be able to connect with people and have that empathy and understanding, so that when somebody comes to me, they're not just like, oh, you think you know more than me. And I mean, I'm only 26. I'm not going to try to pretend that I know more than you. I want to build my business around what goals do you want to set for yourself? What way do you want your life to look right now? And how can I help you to be accountable for that? Because I still want you to hold your own power, because that's what's going to make you feel the most successful, is instead of somebody else kind of taking the credit for where you're at, I want to be more of an accountability, real like friend partner that is helping you reach these goals that you set for yourself. And so I guess to kind of delve into my own personal stuff that's going on, and I'm not gonna really divulge into everything, because I'm not one of those people who's like, let's blast everything that's going on social media. But I will just say, with starting into this yoga practice and deciding to do this, my life has suddenly shifted in kind of almost traumatic ways that I wasn't really prepared for. And I'm also a mom. My daughter is turning a year old next month. Oh, thank you, Damien. Thank you. That's so nice. And suddenly being thrown into a situation where it's like, I have to take care of myself, but I also have to take care of my daughter completely on my own, thrown to the whims of everything. After being a stay-at-home mom for almost a year, I suddenly have to jump back into work and paying like bills completely on my own, a car. And when I was younger, that's never really been a problem. Something kind of goes wrong, you're like, well, I'll figure it out, I'll make it work. I've always been a hardworking person. If I needed to provide for myself, I would be working 2 jobs, trying to accomplish whatever I could. But now, having a daughter who is still really dependent on me and is still very little, not really an age that I think she should be going to daycare, it makes it all the more harder to find a way to make that work with my life, because she still needs me to be present. I'm still learning how to be a mom, and Luna is saying hi to the people outside. And so just deciding to up and go work full time isn't something that necessarily works for me, because I still have to be the primary caretaker for my daughter. And so that's brought up a lot of overwhelm for me because there is so much going on. Suddenly being thrown into, I've got to pay all these bills, I've had to move into a new place, and still trying to find work, starting my new business, and then starting into yoga teacher training, all happened like within the same week. And it's been hard to ground, which our yoga teacher training, the way that it's set up, I'm doing the Root to Rise yoga teacher training down in Fort Collins, Colorado. And Melanie is my teacher, and she's been amazing with helping to get me set up and understanding my situation and circumstances where I say, I really want to be here, I know I need to do this. And she's been open to, well, how do we make this happen? And so still wanting to really bring that into my life, because I know it's very important right now. I need yoga in my life, and I've been wanting to do this for so long, to integrate it into my holistic business, because I want to be able to include physical therapies as well with everything else. So once I do my yoga teacher training, there will be yoga therapy as well with like some Pilates kind of corrective stuff, really kinesiology and contrology, different methods to really help people physically. And I need it myself, being postpartum. Still, my body is recovering and getting used to all these different things. After having a baby for so long, your body as a woman definitely shifts and changes, and that's really different for me to try to suddenly go back to the things I was doing, like, oh, my body doesn't move like this anymore. And it can be really frustrating. And so the way that our teacher training is set up is to go through the chakras. We go through each of the 7 chakras, and we get a whole month to integrate it and really delve deep into the subject. And so the foundation and the rooting down into it is obviously the root chakra, which is the base chakra, and the Muladhara. And it has to do with the earth element and groundedness and stability. And it was almost like my life was preparing me to really focus in on this moment, because everything that makes the deficiencies and triggers on this chakra just seem to all pop up. And in our papers, some of the quotes from our readings says the biggest demon of the first chakra is fear. And with deficiencies and disconnection from the root chakra, you get fear and anxiety and poor focus, because it's almost connected to that very deep-rooted part of the brain that has to do with like lizard brain, like fight or flight mode and survival. And that's definitely really been coming up for me, because since I'm thrown into this shift of I have to provide, I have to figure out a new way to do things, and when it's not right in front of me how it's happening perfectly, I definitely just fear, like, how am I going to do this? How is this going to happen? And not only, I think a root cause of anger is fear, because I've had a lot of anger coming up at myself and just outwardly expressing it, because I'm so afraid like things aren't going to work out, and they're not working out the way that I wanted to. And anger in itself, I think, is also kind of a representation of not accepting things as they are, being angry that you don't have control over the situation, that it's not a certain way that you want to perceive it. And everybody, struggles with that in certain ways. Some people have a lot more anger problems than most. And I didn't really see with looking through the root chakra that anger issues really pop up, but that's just what's been coming up for me. Trying to ground down is this, when I can't find that stability, even trying to start my regular yoga practice every day, that I struggle with just staying focused on it, with not thinking too much in the brain and actually being present with it. I'm just kind of moving through the motions and not really feeling anything. And that's just something I think that's coming from the fear, because I'm wanting it to be a certain way. I'm thinking that it should be doing something for me that is happening for other people. And that's something I've always struggled with too, is when I see the way other people are doing things and how it's working so well for them, why is it not working that way for me? And everybody's different. And that's really hard to accept sometimes. And I feel like taking that presence and actually noticing what's happening for you instead of thinking this is how it has to happen for me, then you really start to kind of delve deeper into that. And the root chakra has to do with your legs and your feet and grounding down back into the earth and getting that stability and security. And I feel like, that's obviously something that happens a lot with us in our society, because we are so disconnected. I have to stop myself to just even notice to breathe for one moment and just realize, oh, I haven't taken a deep breath in a while. That feels really good. And it's really sad to see, like, I forget who I was talking to about it yesterday, about it's just the way people are. We're anxious. We're all anxious. We overthink everything. Like, I am waiting for a job to line up with Pilates teaching here at one of the local gyms. And because I hadn't heard from them in a while, even after they told me I had the job and I hadn't heard from them, I was like, oh no, I did something wrong. They didn't like the way that I looked. They didn't like my personality. They just told me all this stuff. And then they were like, no, we don't want her. And that fear starts to really overplay in your head, because you're just like, it's not happening. I don't have the security. I don't have the safety. And so your brain just makes up all this stuff that it tries to tell you is going wrong, when in reality, she emailed me yesterday and was like, I'm so sorry. There's all these complications going on. I'm making the whole schedule and I'll let you know where we need help. And then you just kind of are like, oh, I stressed about all of that for like weeks on end, worrying about all this stuff happening, and it's still happening. It's just not happening right now. And I've noticed that issue within myself of instant gratification. That's kind of the day and age that we live in, where we just need it now. We need it to happen now. If this isn't happening, then everything's going to fall apart. And that's something I really want to, I think, set for myself as an intention going into my practice as I move through this, is, especially as a woman, what it calls for in the divine feminine. A lot of the times when you read about that, is the feminine is the receptive energy. We're not the action takers like the masculine Mars energy. We just have this feminine presence that allows things to come into us, and we attract things to us by being this receptive, surrendering energy. I am not very good at just allowing things to come as they need to. I am very much like a go-getter person. It's just kind of the way I was raised, being an only child and being very dependent on myself for a long time to provide what I wanted. I had to really just take those action steps to take care of myself, instead of just relaxing into it, knowing everything's going to be okay. And me and my friend were talking about this yesterday too, about what did she say? Sorry, my words are at a loss right now. To just kind of step into that power of allowing new things into your life, because if you keep trying to push this one way, you may not even notice what's trying to come your way that's even more beneficial, and then you just completely overstep it and don't get to see the new opportunities that are presented to you when you put that energy out into the universe of, I know what I want and this is how I want it. Instead of being open-ended of, this is what I want, what are some ways that I can get it? Because people are sometimes a little closed off to how they can get new things. And they don't even know some of the different avenues that can happen. And that's why I'm so interested in working with people and teaching people and learning from them, because I feel like so many of you can show me new things that I didn't even think of, because I don't want to tell you my way of doing things either. So to kind of, I'll delve into my business a little bit. And I'm sorry if this seems so back and forth. If I seem like I'm going off subject and you guys have like a certain question, feel free to pull me back, because my brain is like, whoa. So my business is Catalyst Holistic Life Coaching. And what I'm initially starting with is kind of the more physical body movement and energetic body work. And so I teach aerial classes here at the local studio, and I also teach Pilates and elemental hoop dance, and that's focusing on different energy movements of the body, and it's also teaching you hula hooping if you're ever interested in that. And I learned through going through chiropractic work and as I studied yoga that once the body becomes stagnant, that's when the body starts to age. And so even in your bones, once your bones stop moving, the pH actually changes and they start to calcify even faster. And so that's something I see in our culture quite a bit, not so much around Montana, but just with like American culture, we're into TV and fast food and just kind of being very placated. And so that causes just this really aging and disease and all these sorts of things. And so I wanted to integrate, like, what are fun ways to keep people's bodies moving? How do we keep that youth within the body? And so aerial has been like one of my biggest things when I was doing performance and everything like that. I loved it. And I think it's a good counterbalance to things that are a little more grounded, because it can do like really good spine stretching, and it's just a new experience that people can have fun with. And then Pilates is really focused on that core work, because the core is like the biggest like balancer of all the muscles in your body, and Pilates works through the core and starts to extend out through the rest of the body. And I thought that was going to be like a good start for in between with yoga and yoga therapy. And yoga is just kind of what I learned through my elemental hoop dance training of somatics, which is bringing the mind into the body and being focused on your actual physical sensations and feelings, because I feel like people are so disconnected from their bodies that they don't even realize how sick they are. And it took me a long time to realize that too. I was eating really unhealthy when I was young and thought I was totally fine. But once I started paying attention to my diet and changing it, things started to shift in my life too. And so I really want people to be more connected, because once you're more connected with yourself, you're more connected with your life and how you want things to go. You're not just kind of at the whims of everything moving you about. And so I also am a Reiki practitioner, so I do energetic body work through the Holy Fire Usui method. And to me, Reiki, I believe, exists in all cultures, just with a different name. And it's healing with the hands. Like, I don't really do massage. I do kind of some cranial sacral work, and I will kind of try to hit like little pressure points to kind of relax the body. But I can't actually like massage the body. I just work through the auric field to kind of prevent like what's already coming into your body to not like fully manifest as any sort of illness, and then working with what's already actually there, whether you have energetic blocks or just physical blocks that are going on in your body. And I've always had, like, with any practice that I do, I always have doubts with myself. And when I first got into my Reiki practice, I was like, how do I know this is like working for people? But everyone that I ever worked on told me after their sessions, they either just felt really relaxed afterwards and felt like things were clear for them. And then a couple days later, I would get calls about like, my pain is gone. I feel so much better. I don't have this inflammation. So whatever way it works for somebody, it's working for them. And that being open to that and seeing the results from the people that I have worked with is really amazing. And that's why I love doing it. I love being a healer, and I hope to progress with more of my Reiki attunements as well and move into that business. And then let's see what else. And then I am also getting certified as a soul coaching oracle card practitioner. I've loved card readings and different tarot I've always been interested in. And so some of it is self-practice with the tarot, and then the oracle card certification I'm still studying for. And so I offer card readings if you're ever interested in them and feel like you want some sort of guidance or insight into your life. It's really cool to see what comes out with that. And so that's kind of the foundation that my business is currently set on. And what I hope for it to build into is in the fall, I'm going to be studying nutritional consulting and herbalism and spiritual counseling. And I want to focus on, eventually there is a school that I want to enroll in called Hippocrates. And Hippocrates is focused on vegan raw food diets for healing, and really focused on like cultivating agriculture that will ensure like stability later on. And so I know not everybody is into the vegan diet and the vegetarian diet, and I'm not going to try to push that on people who are not looking for that kind of work, but I have seen it with a lot of illness and inflammation that even just switching to like raw juices or adding just more raw like vegetables and uncooked foods into your life starts to really clear out that stuff that has been building up. So I'm really excited to see more of the subjects that come up through that as well. And I'm trying to think, I feel like oh yes, and I will be also studying light and color therapy along with my Reiki training, because I've seen that happen with different color light experimentation and things like that. I'm just gonna grab my charger real quick. I didn't realize my computer was almost dead. Sorry about that, guys. Thanks. All right. So yeah, that's kind of the foundation that I'm setting for myself. And I'm intrigued to see how this business grows and what it turns into, because I know lots of people who started into their work have had this whole vision for it, and it's completely gone somewhere else that they didn't really expect, but it was like so much better than they ever expected. And that's kind of what I'm talking about with not having the fear of things not turning out the way that you want them to, instead having this open-ended, like, what's going to happen for me, and is this going to be happier for me in the long run? And so that's what I am implementing towards my clients that start to come to me, is when you come to me and you're like, I want to have this certain job and do this. I want to be able to have the tools to be like, well, how do we make this happen for you? What kind of goals do you want to set? If you have fitness goals, if you have just all around, like, you need somebody to be there for you, I want to be this person to help you with all of that. And I'm really excited to see how this develops with people. And I want to also be able to offer affordability and different avenues for all different age groups, because we work in such an eclectic place. We've got the college town and then the ski resorts. And so there's this big different dynamic age group, and I want to be able to work with everybody and never have monetary means be an issue, because I don't ever think people should not be provided the care that they need if they are lacking in their funds. And so I really want to be open to those sorts of things and really help provide for everybody that I need. And yeah, I I am excited to share my progress with you. I will be really talking about my like physical and mental changes, because I really want to have kind of this open door for people to be able to see how things really actually change for people when they're practicing these things, because I'm human just as much as everybody else. And I feel like I've always been a sharing person, and some people might see that as kind of a negative, where they're like, you're a little too open, like people don't need to know this about your life. And I'm like, I'm not really like ashamed of my life. I'm not ashamed of who I've been, at least not outwardly. I definitely have had things that, you know, everybody has regrets or things they wish they would have done differently. But I think opening up the conversation about that and sharing your vulnerability, and also being around those people that don't judge you for those, that are open and listening to what you have to say, are going to be the ones that help you grow the most. And so I really hope to help you guys grow, and I would love to see how you guys help me grow. And it's always a learning process, and I'm excited to see what bursts from this as me for becoming this new person. And so it's a lot. And with my card readings and stuff, the card that constantly comes up for me during this time, just getting into my yoga teacher training, is the death card. And people see death as kind of like, oh, it's really scary, it's really bad. But usually death in the tarot means the transformation and letting go of these old things, these old patterns, the old self. And one of my cards is actually like a phoenix, is what represents death. And that's a little bit more of a positive aspect to look at it, is that phoenix has to burst into flames and ashes before it is reborn as this new vital life force that has to go out into the world. And so yeah, it's really uncomfortable, it's really new, but that usually is what keeps you on your feet. That's what keeps you going, keeps you thirsting for more life. Because if things just stayed the same forever all the time, nobody would grow and nobody would change, and we don't want that as people. Let's see, I am trying to think of anything else that I wanted to bring up. I guess I'm going to talk a little more about the root chakra things that are going on right now, and these are kind of things that you can look a little bit into more and see how it's currently affecting you in your life, and tell me, like, share with me like what's going on with you and what kind of questions you have about it, and like let's share with each other, let's grow with each other. And so let's see, so I will talk about deficiencies of the root chakra energy, which basically means like it's not as open, it's a little more closed off. And especially for women, we tend to have a little bit lower root chakra energies, and men have higher root chakra energies. So I think I've noticed this too, like rooting down also has to do with like setting boundaries. And sometimes women have a really hard time setting those boundaries, it seems like. And so with the deficiency, there's a disconnection from the body and a disconnection from the self, and the fear and anxiety, there's restlessness, there's poor focus, but there's even more manifestation of there's financial instability because you don't feel stable, and really disorganized. And that is definitely in my life right now, because everything is so chaotic, and taking care of a 1-year-old and trying to find work and do all this stuff. It's like my mind has so many different things going on, and I really do have all of that going on. And so trying to root down is also realizing that I have to trust with not just what's going on around me, but I have to have trust with other people to help me. And that's always been a hard part because I've always had to do things on my own. And I think everybody has those trust issues of trusting themselves, trusting how things are happening, trusting each other. Everybody's been hurt in some way, some a lot more than others. And so I think the biggest thing for me is wanting to trust myself and know that I have the capabilities to make everything happen the way that it needs to. And I do. One of the deficiencies here is actually saying notably underweight, which not really intentionally, but like stress-wise, and especially like still breastfeeding and doing all this stuff, I have lost a lot of weight dealing with all of this. And I notice that I'm sick, and I know other people notice that I'm sick. I'm only, I want to say 95 pounds right now, and it's really not intentional at all. It's just when I focus on doing so much, I neglect myself, just nutrition wise and things like that. And I'm more worried about my daughter's nutrition and taking care of her. But if I don't take care of myself first, then I can't take care of her properly. And so trying to root down, I, especially being into nutrition, for those of you, especially in the wintertime when you're feeling really ungrounded and really unstable, there's really good foods that can help you start to be more grounded down. And if you study Ayurveda, that's like the kind of medicine that goes along with yoga. And they have 3 different energies of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, I believe is what they're called. And each one is a different element. And if you're out of balance, you want to eat certain foods to rebalance that. And everybody has different constitutions. Nobody's really kind of set one way. Like I have kind of 2 that are more even than the 1, and that's just how I naturally am. And so to really start to ground down, you want to eat more like heavier foods that are like root vegetables. Meats are technically grounding, but I don't eat meats. And also with that fear and anger that comes up, red meat and different types of animal products like that, I have noticed within myself that they make me really angry and aggressive. And I've read a bunch of things about red meat actually kind of being an aggressor in people, which would kind of make sense with America and other countries that are really like red meat focused. They are definitely a little bit more angry and aggressive towards each other. And that's not everybody. Some people have like okay reactions with it. They talk about blood types and stuff, but I'm technically like an O blood type. I should be fine with meats, and I still notice a difference. So I'm more so gonna recommend doing the root vegetable things. And beans, and there's stuff like beets and potatoes and onions, which is all great stuff for the winter time anyway, with soups, and my favorites are curry and things like that. So if you're starting to feel like ungrounded, and especially in the winter time, sometimes people really like dig in and start to kind of do that hibernation, like really eating a lot of stuff. But sometimes that's more focused on like sugars so that they can be like burned off. Like it's kind of one of those backhanded, primitive like things that we think about. Oh, we're going into hibernation, we have to eat all this stuff to be ready for the winter time. And that actually, like, especially with not working out, is what causes like more weight gain. And so instead kind of focusing on those really like vegetable, like nutritious stuff, I think is super important right now. And so another intention of mine is to really start to get my nutrition back on track, since nutrition and the gut is really the foundation for how the rest of your body functions. Because if you don't have the fuel and the provisions you need for your body can't recover and function the way that it needs to. Let me see if I want to talk about anything else. I think that's kind of what I wanted to go over, and how this ties all into yoga is when you first start a yoga practice, you have to set your foundation and your goals and things that you want to grow, and not just in yoga, but with everything else. I've had the issue of, I know what I want to do, I'm just going to go do it. And I don't really set a solid foundation, and I've left the foundation in place with like leaving other people in control. And then when those people are not there to help me anymore, then my whole foundation crumbles. And I think that's what's been called to me at this point in time with being a mother as well, is I can't just be this flitty person. I can't just up and leave and do whatever I want. I have to create this stability for myself and my daughter. And that's like a new challenge for me. And so, yeah, I really would love to hear from you guys about any goals that you have coming up for the new year. And if you're more interested in yoga, what kind of things you want to be looking for. I will be getting practice teaching probably within the next few months. We get to start about halfway between our trainings, and I will also keep everybody posted about new classes and things that will be coming up. I'm going to be doing a lot of workshops through my aerial teacher training, and just building and growing and learning and changing. And I am excited to share this journey with you guys. I'd love any feedback from you that you have. Just being like, Kat, get your shit together. You made no sense. So, thank you everybody who joined in, and thanks for everybody who is going to be watching. I do regular weekly card reading posts as well, and I'm going to try to be doing more blogs and bringing up different subjects and delving into all the aspects of what I do for my business, so that I can be more of an open book for you guys. So I love your comments. I love you guys. Thanks for not judging me. I am terrible with live videos and really have severe social anxiety sometimes. So thank you so much for opening this avenue for me. And I am so excited to see what happens and where this goes. So thank you guys, and have a great weekend. We'll talk to you later. Bye.